welcome back to my channel. So you might notice that we have kind of a different setup going on, and that's actually because I moved into college. But today I feel like we have a really long overdue video to make. We all know that Cloud is one of my all-time favorite fragrances, but I haven't really made any videos covering the Intense version, which did release somewhat recently. So today I'm going to be comparing Cloud Intense with the original Cloud. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into the review. So Cloud Intense, or Cloud 2.0, some people call it, is a flanker for one of Ariana Grande's most famous perfumes. And even though it is like a flanker or an intense version, it's one of those flankers that is very, very similar to the original with very minimal differences, and we're gonna kind of be going over those small differences today. So going over the notes, the top notes are lavender, bergamot, and pear. The middle notes are whipped cream, coconut, praline, vanilla, orchid, and the base notes are ambroxan, cashmeran, musk, and woodsy notes. So the only different notes that Cloud Intense has apart from its predecessor is that it has ambroxan and cashmeran as additional notes in the base notes, but everything else on Fragrantica is the same. So naturally you would expect these to smell extremely similar. And so I would say honestly like 90% of the population would not be able to tell these apart from each other because they really are just so similar. But let's just give this a spray. So the differences that I've picked up is I noticed that Cloud Intense has a bit of a stronger lavender. I feel like the lavender note in Cloud has always been something that's kind of confused me because I never smelled lavender at all. Even though the original Cloud has lavender as one of its top notes, I never smelled any lavender. It's nothing like Rem or Lead by Yves Saint Laurent or Good Fortune by Viktor and Rolf with like a stronger, more floral lavender. I never got that from the original Cloud. But what I do notice from Cloud Intense is that I'm starting to pick up on a little bit of lavender. But again, the lavender in here is nothing strong at all. So if you're someone who doesn't like lavender, this is not one that I would push away immediately because it really is a super soft, subtle lavender that's mostly covered with these kind of creamier, gourmand whipped cream notes. So aside from the lavender, I would just say overall Cloud Intense for me is a little bit more earthy, and it is not green or extremely floral by any means. What I mean by that is that it's just less synthetic smelling than the original. I feel like the original is very candy-like. It's nothing that you would smell in nature. I feel like it's something a lot more creamy, like a more kind of confectionery type vibe, but the Intense version is just ever so slightly more floral, I would say, even a little more soapy, a bit more clean smelling, and just in general a little bit less, I guess, nutty gourmand type scent and more of a cleaner, creamy accord. But again, I would still totally classify Cloud Intense as being a gourmand because it has the same DNA as the original, almost like identically. Again, any differences that I am pointing out are so minimal. This is still super gourmand. It still is creamy. It has a nuttiness to it. It does smell kind of synthetic, but it just has florals that are kind of brought out a little bit more in the Intense version. So let's go ahead and get into the review. Let's go over the presentation. In terms of shape, the fragrances are identical. I do have the 3.4 ounce bottle of the Intense version, which is the only size that it comes in, and then this is the 1 ounce version. I won't lie, just like when Cloud Intense was first announced, I was not a fan of the presentation at all. Like, I don't like this like dark navy Cloud, and then the bottle is also just opaque, so you can't really see how much is left inside. Cap, I didn't really have a problem with. It was really close to the original. I think in general I did just prefer the original bottle, but I still think this one is cute. I feel like because I'm so sentimental towards the original one, I have just naturally grown to really like this one as well, and I think anything that my mind associates with Cloud is immediately like a positive recall. What I will say about this bottle though is that the atomizer for this bottle is very different from the original Cloud, and I don't know if it's a difference of like perfumes or if it's a difference in size, because this is the 3.4 ounce. I've noticed that the atomizer is so much smoother. It delivers a much finer, more consistent mist. Literally such a beautiful atomizer. I love it. This is very comparable to L'Interdit or Dior Sauvage. If you've ever tried those atomizers, it's very smooth, whereas the original Cloud, or it could be the 1 ounce bottle, it has just a much more standard atomizer. It's not as high quality, I would say, as the one on Cloud Intense. So even though the atomizers are like the same size, this one just feels a lot more high quality, so I think they might have kind of changed the composition of their atomizer with the intense version. So that's one thing that I really, really like about the new one. As for the scent, I think anything that has this similar of a DNA to Cloud, literally just one of my favorite fragrances ever, immediately just kind of like passes my test with flying colors. It is an absolutely beautiful fragrance. It's, I feel like, everything that I want in a perfume. It's sweet, it's creamy, it's gourmand, but it has a complexity to it. It's not just a sweet, sugary, juvenile body spray like I find like Viva La Juicy or Aquilina Pink Sugar or anything Bath & Body Works. I find it to be more complex. It has a depth to it, and I think I would attribute that to some of the base notes it has, like cashmerean and musk, which makes it wear so nicely on the skin. Really don't have much to say about the scent other than it is absolutely beautiful, and if you've never smelled Cloud or Cloud Intense, I would definitely recommend trying them because they are stunning. And finally, onto the performance. So I'm actually surprised that they call this the intense version because I don't find this fragrance to be more intense than the original. So in terms of longevity, projection, just general perfume strength, I would say this is very, very similar to the original. In fact, I think at times I found that the original actually lasts a bit longer than the intense version, which is really surprising. So even though it is regarded as being intense, I don't think it's a super beast mode fragrance. It doesn't project super far, and it's not super, super strong. So on the plus side, I don't find this to be overbearing. I've always found that the Cloud line is such a comforting scent. It never overwhelms me or gives me a headache, anything like that. But on the other hand, if you were looking for something that is stronger than the original Cloud, something that projects even more and will last you even longer, I don't really think intense is going to be exactly what you're looking for because the performance is not super different from the original. Overall, projection, sillage, longevity, they're all good. Cloud has never disappointed me. In fact, my number one most complimented fragrance by far, and like it's not even close. Like I own so many fragrances and I feel like I rotate them pretty regularly, so I try to wear a bit of everything. Like no fragrance has even come close to Cloud in the number of compliments that I've gotten. Whenever I'm like in a group or just out and about, I feel like it's so frequent that someone will be like, oh my god, someone smells really good here. Turns out that they are smelling Cloud. This is just super crowd pleasing, but it's also just, I don't think it's super basic. It is such a beautiful fragrance. People will absolutely notice you. I really like, if you want a fragrance just for like the compliments, I think that these you could not go wrong with. And I guess to kind of wrap up my review and kind of the main purpose of this video, I wanted to compare the two. Right off the bat, I will say the original Cloud is in general just a lot more accessible than Cloud Intense in many ways. First of all, the original Cloud does come in 3 different sizes, so if you wanted to start off with something a lot smaller, then you have the 1 ounce bottle as an option. There are also a ton of retailers that you can get it from. You can probably find Cloud at any major beauty retailer, but it's also found at like Walgreens, Walmart, etc. Cloud, I feel like, is really, really accessible. It's also very, very affordable because the fragrance has been around for longer, so you can definitely find it at discounted prices. I would say the cheapest places you can find Cloud are FragranceNet and Walmart, so definitely check those out if you're looking for the original Cloud. It's a lot more affordable. On the other hand, I believe Cloud Intense is only available at Ulta, and it also only comes in the 3.4 ounce bottle, which I personally am not a fan of because I don't like having bottles of perfume that are this big, but that's just like a personal preference.
I just think the small ones are cuter.
Only coming in one size just does kind of get rid of that option of having the smaller sizes if you did want one. That being said, Cloud Intense is also just generally going to be more expensive, and you probably won't find it discounted the way that the original Cloud is. So in general, overall, I would still recommend the original Cloud just because it's cheaper and the fragrances do smell so similar. If we're talking just scent, what I would prefer, the Intense version or the original, honestly, I really cannot give you an answer. Totally depends on my mood, but also most days I really will not be aware enough to even notice a difference between the two. I really just love the slightly more synthetic nuttiness to the original. I feel like it has a little bit more of like a praline coconut thing going on. The Intense version smells a little bit less synthetic and maybe a bit more expensive, but I think the fact that they smell so similar, I would probably recommend just going for the original. I still love this fragrance. I would say overall grade for Cloud Intense is an A. It is just such a stunning fragrance. fragrance. You really cannot go wrong with it. This has been my favorite perfume line for the longest time, and I think it will continue to hold that place. And I just think that there is a reason as to why this is like one of the most popular female fragrances of all time. So that does kind of wrap up today's review. I guess to answer the essential question, Original Cloud versus Cloud Intense, I personally would still go with the original, but I do love them both very, very much. Let me know what you guys think of Cloud Intense or Cloud 2.0. I hope you guys are all well, and again, thank you so much for stopping by. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe, and if you're coming back, I appreciate you so much as always, and I'm so happy to have you here. That is gonna wrap things up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon.